Hi, I'm Whitney Morris, fantasy author, and come and edit with me today. So, last month I finished writing the first draft of my fantasy novel. And the first thing I recommend anyone does that is in the same position as me, who's just finished writing the first draft, is to celebrate. You take that at win. It is a really big milestone to finish that first draft. There are so many people out there who want to write a novel who never even start, or people who start but never get to finish. And you have made a big milestone in finishing that first draft. Is it ready to be sent out to the world? Probably not. But it exists. And the first draft's only job is to exist, because if it doesn't exist, there's nothing for you to edit or change or make better. You now have a story. It may not be perfect, but there is a story there, and now you get to edit. And that's what this video is about. Me editing my first draft. Yes, I spent a few weeks deluded into thinking my first draft was amazing, and I was like, yes, it's the most amazing story ever, and it's amazing. But now I'm back in reality, and I know it needs to be edited. So this is what I'm doing now, editing. So I believe that editing is when the magic truly happens. It's like your first draft is a caterpillar, and then editing is the cocoon, and then that end product afterwards is the butterfly. So I realized that editing can sometimes feel like this big daunting thing. It's like, where do you even start? I was like, I had no idea, but this is like my seventh book now, and I have fine-tuned this process on what works for me. So these are the steps I take when editing, and these have really, really worked well for me with getting my book ready to go and send out to people to read. So I will start with the big picture edit, and the big picture edit covers structure, plot, pacing, and characters arcs. And I know that sounds like a lot to do in one edit, but trust me, this just one stage. That is then cut down into sections, and this whole video will be focused on that section of the edits. I'm just doing big picture edits at the moment. After I've done these big picture edits, I will then do another read through, and I will re-outline it and check it. And that's when I'll be going through for looking for consistency details, make sure that the world building makes sense, that my magic system is logical and consistent, and just it makes sense for that world. Obviously, in the real world, my magic system would be like, what the hell? But it needs to make sense for the world that I have created in my book. Then after I've done that, I will do a step where I listen to it aloud. So I will use words read aloud function where I can listen to it, and then that can also pick up things where it's like, that doesn't sound like right. Oh, that doesn't sound flow as nicely, because reading it aloud, it gives a different sort of feel, and I can then hear things that just sound, that sounds a bit clunky and that doesn't sound right, sort of thing. So I will always have a read aloud function before I then go into line edits and get nitpicky with my word choice, and I will check for fill words. I have a very bad habit of using the word so a lot. Anyone that has watched any of my TikToks will know. So is like my favorite word. And then another word I have another bad habit of including in my books is as. As. As you know. As. And I'm like, that word needs to go. It needs to be out of my dictionary, but for some reason I can't let it go. But that's fine. It can exist in my first draft, but I know that, during edits, that word needs to get kicked out. Because I have really bad habits, especially so. Yeah, I use the word so a lot. So the remainder of this video will be focused on that big picture edit. And yes, I do realize I just used the word so again. I can't help myself. I really, really cannot. Anywho, I will start by getting the tools I need ready for my editing. So that is a cup of tea, a ridiculous amount of candy kittens that no one person actually needs. I mean, I have a massive box under my desk that I really do not need, but I do need them. I lie. I need these to keep me going. Okay. Then the other things I use are my note cards. I will be calling them story cards because they are. I write my bits of story on here. Yes. My board and my pot of pens. So to start with, I reread what is already there. I'm just rereading my first draft, and then I am going to make a story card for each chapter and just write what's happening. I am basically doing reverse outlining. I've already written the first draft. I'm now outlining what I already have, and then I'm going to stick it on the board. And that will give me an overview of my story, just in note cards. And these are color coded, so this is my male main character, Tristan, and these are for Celeste, my female main character. And yes, hers are pink, but that's because she's a pink girly and she loves pink, and you can have a strong female character who loves pink. Because Celeste loves pink. So here I go. I'm just going to start reading, and then I'm going to write cards, then I'm going to go on the board. let's just go. Let's get this done. So my board is now full of cards. Yay! It's gonna. There we go. There you go. You can see that. See, it's all full. It's all there with my outline, and it looks really good. It's all full of orange and pink cards, and I love it. I am really annoyed by that card right at the bottom because I'm like, it's all nicely lined up. And there's just that one random card on its own at the bottom, and I'm like, kind of want to just cut a chapter just so it lines up on the board, but I'm like, I need that chapter, so I can't just cut it for the sake of it to make it look nice and neat on my board. So yeah, it's a mess. And I'm going to put the horse securely back in the center now because I don't want it to fall again, because it did fall on me during the week and it went down the back of the radiator, and that was not fun trying to get all the pins out from there. I found a magnet. Got a magnet. I thought that was very, very clever of me to think of getting a magnet to get the pins out, because I was struggling and I was trying to squish my hands under it and I was like, what am I doing? So yeah, I had that bright idea. So I'll not touch the board again because I do not want it to fall again, because that was not fun. So yeah, I'm not going to touch the board again. It is there with all the pink and orange cards, and I think it looks wonderful. And I now have this quick glance. I can just look at the overview and I can quickly be like, okay, where does this thing happen? I'm like, I know, I can find it and it's on the chapter, and I can just look at it all. Now, one of the things I did leave out when I was getting my kit ready was my notebook, which I've also made notes in along the way of like random things, like, ooh, as I've been reading and suddenly thinking, wait, I should have mentioned this earlier, or I should put that back there. And this is not in my best handwriting, and some of it I'm not entirely sure what it says. So I'm gonna probably have to take a little bit more time deciphering that, because thank God for typing, because this is chicken scratch. But yeah. So now that my board is full and all those cards there, and I've got my bird's eye view, I'm now going to go in and analyze the structure, and I'm going to do that by using the Save the Cat method. I now have cards that already have all of the beats written out on them, and I'm going to go and find where they currently sit, at least where I think they sit, in my current story. And all 15 beats should be there, and if they're not, then obviously something is going wrong. But I think they are, because I have read it, and I just need to know. I do know where some things are actually kind of going wrong. But yeah, I'm going to go through and do that. Now, for those who are not familiar with Save the Cat, it is a book. It is written, it was originally written for screenwriters, and then this version has come out for novels, and I think it is really good. It's a really good sort of useful tool if you're struggling with structure, and it really helps you understand the rules of structure, because I feel like, yes, you can break these rules, but I feel like you need to know them first before you do break them. And I have broken the rules slightly. I know I have, but they're not really. I've just stretched them. I haven't actually broken any rules. But all the points are in here, and it goes over them, and it has some great examples. And I think in particular, Save the Cat method works really well when writing fantasy, and that is what I write fantasy. It's just the way it is and the structure, especially when it goes over the 5-point finale points. If you are struggling with that, it works really well, especially when you are writing fantasy. And the examples are really good, and it goes into detail of the different types of stories and how and goes through the beats for really popular examples that you will likely have at least heard of if you have not read them. So yeah, I've got my cards, and now I'm gonna go in and find where the beats are. So now I have those all in place. I'm very lucky the fact that I do actually have all those plot points. I have before written a book and been like, I have no idea where my all lost his moment is, and then had to really, that has been a real struggle, figuring that out and then fleshing that out. This time round, I'm quite lucky. All the plot points are there, but I have realized by using this method is that my first act is taking a bit long and it is dragging itself out. So I'm going to have to probably condense and possibly push some scenes together. And I can do that by basically making more than one thing happen at once. So if any scenes I have that are like just one thing's happening and then this happens and this happens, it's condensing them together. So put them together, and then it will also make it like more interesting and not feel as though like it's dragging, because having one thing happen and then another, it can really drag the pacing down. So I know how I can fix that is by condensing some of these scenes together so more than one thing is happening at once, and it also will make the scenes just more interesting. Then I have also noted that I know where my midpoint is, but getting to my midpoint is the fun and games section. Now the first part of my fun and games is, as it should be, fun and games, but then the bit just before the midpoint is a bit like bleh. And I did know this while writing it. I could feel it. And I was like, I don't like this scene, but I was like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to fix it. So I was just like, I'm just going to leave it as this really rubbish chapter that is currently 500 words. Yeah, 500 words. And then I will come back to it. And I do actually think I know how to fix it now. And it's another one where it's like, I'm going to make it so more than one thing is happening at once. And it's also solving the problem of, I realized that I forgot about a character. And I was just like, there's this whole issue in the Fun and Games where she has an argument with her best friend. And then I kind of forgot. So we're going to solve that argument. We're going to fix those bonds. And we're going to show that while also getting us to the midpoint because we need a reason to get there. And her best friend is going to get her there as well while fixing the argument that they had at the beginning of the Fun and Games. So I have work. I actually think my ending is working quite well. There is one point that I have picked up on and I was just there like, huh. But that's more of a consistency error, which isn't meant to be in this part of the book editing process, but I picked it up and I'm probably going to have to just tackle it now, and I'm just going to go in there and get at it at the end, and it's a really quick fix. So just probably like a line change. But yeah, those are like the big things I want to do at the moment for the structure. Now, looking at my characters, I'm going in with asking myself questions. And these are the questions I ask myself when I start developing my characters. And that is, what do they want? What do they need? And what are they going to do about it? So my main characters are Celeste and Tristan, and they both have a want and a need. And the need is usually one they're not as conscious about what they need, but they know what they want. It's quite simple that I want this. So I know the answers to those questions, which is good. And then what are they about to do about it is really important, because it's like, what are they actively doing? It makes sure that the plot isn't just happening to the characters. By showing that they are doing something towards their want or their need, whichever one it is, it just makes sure that they are not having the plot happen to them. And unfortunately, Tristan is the one who's fallen foul to this. The plot has been happening to him, and I need to give him more agency and make sure he's actually making active choices. At the beginning, he is making choices, but then partway through, it's like he almost just stops and he's just there, and it's just everything's happening to him. So I'm going to go back through, and while I'm doing these edits, and make sure he is actively making choices, that he is still making choices like he was at the beginning of the book. And he is making these decisions for himself, even if they're not the correct ones, or they're flawed, or his reasoning is a bit flawed, because who wants to have a perfect main character? Those sort of people, they're boring. It's like, you don't want a perfect one. They need to have flaws. And so far, I think I've done well at making sure Celeste is making choices. And I felt part of the point is the fact that the story was happening to her at the beginning, and she's making more and more choices. And I feel like because that was part of her character growth, I was very active and like conscious of making sure she was making choices, more and more and more and more decisions herself as the story went on. Whereas with Tristan, he was making decisions at the start. His story arc is a different one, where it's more of a, I have no attachments to the world, I'm just warm out. And now he's like, I do have attachments and I do care about people, and it's okay to, stay still for a minute. So his arc was very different. So I think that's why I sort of let go of some of his choices, and I was like, but he still needs to be making choices. I'm now going to go in and I'm going to make these changes, and then I'm going to have to do another reread and check it still makes sense. But yeah, this is all good. This is all good. This is all the big edits that I'm going to get done. So at the moment, my word count is just over 80,000 words. So we're going to see if I manage to increase that word count or if it goes down. I have actually before managed to edit a whole manuscript, add loads of scenes, but because of the amount I've deleted, have exactly the same word count. We'll see what happens with this one. Deleting things is hard sometimes. But yeah, I had to go. It was just a covered mess. So I've managed to make all the changes that I've wanted to my manuscript, and in that time my tea has become a yazoo. I have made the cut on my finger worse. I'm like, why has it not healed yet? It has been forever. And I've also finished reading Oathbound, and oh my god, that book. If you have not read the Legendborn series yet, you really should, because it is amazing. But anyway, back to my editing. It has gone well. And my word count has increased slightly from 80,000 words to 90,000 words. And I'm okay with that, because when I started out with this sort of story, I did kind of picture it at being about 90,000 words. And that is where it's hitting now. So I combined some scenes to make them more interesting, made more than one thing happen at once, but I also fleshed some certain areas out and made the story just more rich and added some details. And now it just flows better, the pacing's better, and I feel like all the beats are hitting in the right place now. And I've definitely given Tristan back his agency. He is making more active choices. Are they always the right ones? Of course not, because that would just be boring. But yeah, they are making choices, no matter how silly or stupid, and thinking, what the hell is wrong with you? But it's like, I understand why you would do that in your situation. Even if I was you, I would do something completely different. But if they were making sensible choices all the time, it would not be anywhere near as interesting. So I'm quite happy with where this is at the moment. The structure's there. I feel like it's got the good, strong base now for me to go in for my next round of edits, which will be looking more at the finer details, checking like things are consistent in the world building and the magic system. And there is one thing I did pick up while doing this edit, is that I have no idea what the calf looks like. So Celeste works in her parents' calf. It's a Caribbean calf, and I've got this idea of like what the kitchen is like when I'm describing them cooking and baking and stuff. But then I realised that I have no idea what the actual front of the calf looks like. Where the bit where customers come in and have orders and sit and eat their food. I have no idea what that looks like. So I feel like I now have a legit reason to go and make a mood board. So before I go into my next round of edits, I'm going to have made myself a mood board in preparation. It's not procrastination. It's not just for the fun of it. This is a legit reason to do a mood board. 100%. So yeah, I'm happy with how my edits have gone. And if you stay tuned, I may make another video on my next round of edits. And if you have any other questions on like things that I've gone over in this one that maybe you want more details on, do let me know. And I will just try and address things and make more videos. Thanks for editing with me.